Radio Wenker.
Good evening once again to Moments in My Life, the series in which we explore remarkable and profound experiences that have been suffered by individuals and their willingness to come to terms with them. This evening we have in the studio someone who wishes only to be referred to as Johnny. This will become clear later on why he doesn't want any further interpretation of his name or indeed any kind of disclosure of his whereabouts. Good evening, Johnny.
Good evening.
Now, you've come here to talk about an experience that you had which is, I think, perhaps unique in the history of humankind.
Yes, I think I can tell you the story. Basically, I lived in Sutton, in London, and, well, it's a suburb of London, actually, and my mother kept me in the chimney for 40 years.
Can I just ask you, at what age were you first kept in the chimney?
3.
From 3 years old until you were 43, presumably.
Well, actually 38.
So it wasn't quite 40 years.
Seemed like 40 years.
I'm sure it did. Now, I'm sure what a lot of our listeners will be keen to know is what exactly you ate while you were in the chimney. How did you survive?
Well, my mother, I'd like to say that my mother always loved me, even though we were separated by bricks. She had installed a tube for waste and a tube for food.
And it was through these that you sustained and voided yourself.
It is indeed. Stimulation came through via a speaker, and I learnt the power of speech and the ability to talk through the BBC network.
That is quite remarkable.
I never actually spoke to my mother in the entire time I was in the chimney, said chimney, and so I have to say I owe my ability to talk to the outside world via the use of the BBC Home Service.
Well, that is indeed a credit to the BBC Home Service, I have to say. But tell me, Johnny, did you not feel when you came out of the chimney any particular sort of resentment, any lingering bad feeling perhaps towards your mother?
No, as I said in the beginning of this interview, I always loved my mother, and in many ways the BBC was enough for me. Unfortunately, towards the end of of my incarceration, and I was later to learn, it was in fact the neighbours that unbricked me as a fully fledged adult.
As a fully fledged adult, indeed. Well, I must say that it seems to me, Johnny, that you've borne up absolutely remarkably under this experience, and I'm quite staggered that you're not actually driven insane by the experience of listening to the BBC for 40 years. You know, a mere week of The Archers, Down Your Way, similar such programmes would indeed drive many people beyond the point of sanity.
No, in fact, the BBC in its early days used to end at 12 o'clock, and I was allowed to sleep at that point. One of the problems I had, and one of the most difficult points, was sleeping vertically every night for 40, 43, 40, 40, 40, 30, 38 years. And I hasten to add that what brought an end to this experience was the fact that my mother's died, and
Your mother's died. You had more than one mother.
You've got to understand that being locked up for such a long time at such an early age led me to believe that, in fact, I had more than one mother.
Perhaps, if I might make so bold, and I hope I'm not getting in front of myself here, maybe you had the mother who you always loved, the kind, the caring mother, and also, at the same time, the other vicious, cruel, sadistic, lock you up in a chimney type mother.
Well, those theories only apply if you have an outside vision. But when you're in a chimney for 38 years, you have no comparisons except sooty walls. When I came out and I was from my incarceration and released by the neighbours, they told me that my mother had indeed passed away 5 days earlier.
Oh dear. Well, I'm sure we can all sympathise with that situation. So I'm just wrapping it up now for blah 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 blah.